Hello guys, hope you had some nice vacations. I'll share with you the final part of our presentation on ontology. I'll be talking about one of my favorite topics. So I hope you like it, what I've prepared. Let's go. We're going to talk about Taoism. We've already talked a little bit about the meaning of Taoism, how we can apply it to ethics and to ontology, to metaphysics, to most of the things we see in philosophy, even though it's not traditionally considered normal philosophy. It is also known as a religion. So that's why Taoism is this weird conflux of concepts that we need to understand to see a better, or not better, but different approximation to reality as a whole. Taoism comes from the word Tao. This is here, written here with pinyin from Chinese characters. And it basically means either the way or making the way, because in Chinese, when you refer to a noun, you have to also refer to it as a verb. So when you talk about the way, you also talk about making the way, walking it. So it cannot be learned just because it is a thing that is also a verb. So it starts by confusing the Westerners in how do we refer to a concept that is such a movable thing. It's not a solid single interpretation. It has to be many things at the same time. I put here my example as the Force from Star Wars. Those of you who like Star Wars, I do not like Star Wars personally, but those of you who like Star Wars know there is this invisible force that makes everything happen, that can be controlled by certain persons, that can be either a good thing or a bad thing. And that's basically the basis of the universe. That thing, known as the force, is completely based on the idea of the Tao, the thing that's always there, whether you see it or not. It is similar to the traditional monotheistic God, but the Tao is not personal. The Tao has no influence in life. Tao just is. Everything has to do with Tao, but you cannot pray to Tao, for example, or you cannot ask favors to Tao. You just need to live with it. You just flow with the flow. And that's basically what the Taoists look for. There is this really famous film, it's a comedy film. It's called The Big Lebowski, and The Big Lebowski is based around following Tao in a modern way. So if you want to look at it, it's really funny. It's Netflix. It's by the Coen brothers, who are geniuses, but it's kind of odd. It's not film. It talks about Tao, and that's why it's odd. I prepared for you some segments of the Tao Te Ching, just so you could see examples of how Taoism, as an ontological perspective, can guide you through ethical ways. So this is the first poem of the Tao Te Ching. And if you look at it, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao begins by explaining to you that even though we refer to it as the Tao, it's not what we talk about. You cannot talk about reality. Just like the traditional monotheistic gods, you cannot say the name of God because it's God. It's omnipotent, omnipresent, omni. So you cannot say it. You can just understand it. So the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. That's basically what it means. We can move to the final part of it. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. So it's not a personal thing that has desires, that has tastes. It just exists. It's a mystery. Even though it contains all desire, you cannot see manifestations of them, because the Tao is not a person. It's not a thing. It's a force that is all around us. The first chapter of the Tao Te Ching explains to us that everything we name, everything we put a label on, is not eternal. It's not the magical mystery thing. It's just what we can name, because we are humans, we are limited. We cannot express the complete nature of reality by our concepts. What we do with our concepts is explain a partial reality, and this partial reality can be summarized in words, and these are some of the words that we are using. That's part of the reason why the Tao Te Ching is written in poems, because they cannot make a rational argument about it. They need to make it through allegories and poetry and interpretations. Okay, let's go to this chapter. It's chapter 5 of the Tao Te Ching. It says, heaven and earth are ruthless. They see the 10,000 things as dummies. The wise are ruthless. They see the people as dummies. What it's trying to explain is Tao, the forces that rule our life, heaven and earth, They don't see you as persons of value. They see you as dummies, as things that can be used and discarded. Because for heaven and earth, for the forces outside, you do not matter. You're just a human that's going to die. The same way has to be followed by the wise men or the wise women. The wise people are ruthless. They don't care about what people desire or don't desire. They see them just as part of existence. In the same way, the earth and heaven treat the living things, wise people should treat their comrades, their people. So in this rather conflictive way of understanding nature, if you want to walk the path, you need to understand how the path works. If you look at the sky and you look at earth and you look at heaven, you will see the natural way of things and you can replicate that in your ethical behavior. That's why Taoism is such useful for reuniting or joining ontological views with ethical views, because for them they are the exact same thing. I'll walk now to this poem, poem 37, which explains a concept thrown around by Timon and Pumbaa as Hakuna Matata. In Chinese, we call that Wu Wei. And what it says in chapter 37 is, the Tao abides by non-action, yet nothing is left undone. If kings and lords observe this, the 10,000 things would develop naturally. If they still desire to act, they would return to the simplicity of formless substance. Without form, there is no desire. Without desire, there is tranquility. And in this way, all things would be at peace. What it's saying is, non-action is the way the path works. The path doesn't force anything. The Tao does not create punishments or rewards for anyone. The path does nothing, and by doing nothing, they do everything. This idea of letting go, this idea of relaxing, of not stressing out, because the Tao has it all covered, is what we call Wu Wei, or what the Lion King would say is Hakuna Matata. You don't need to do anything for things to be done. You don't need to force things for them to set into place. So this chapter explains how the understanding of nature as a whole leaves you without the need to act forcefully to make things. So that concept is in chapter 37. It might be useful. We have chapter 41 too. And it says, this is a long one. I'll just focus on the important parts. The wise student hears of the Tao and practices it diligently. The average student hears of the Tao and gives it thought now and again. The foolish student hears of the Tao and laughs aloud. If there were no laughter, the Tao would not be what it is. What it says is basically Tao sounds foolish for people. Tao does not sound as something that wise people would follow, because it's not. Tao is not something that wise people follow. It's a thing that everybody follows. And persons who are not aware of this find it or look at it or listen to it and think it's a joke, think it's not important. And if they would not laugh, they would not be listening to the true Tao. What it's trying to explain is an idea that's also recurring in The Art of Warfare by Sun Tzu, that tries to explain the way humanity uses things. Humanity tends to try to do things and get a different result. So you try to talk to your crush and you end up distant from the person you like. Or you attempt to fix something and you break it more. You attempt to be more efficient and you create more contamination. And this sort of duplicities. What is happening is Tao has duplicities. If you look at this diagram, the Bakwa, you see that fire and water are opposites, certain mountain are the opposites, lake and thunder are opposites, and so on. What it's trying to explain is when you try to do something, you're usually going through the other plane, because the path is a single thing. The mistake isn't thinking there is duplicity. Well, there is none, because there is only the Tao. There is only oneness. And this oneness can direct your behavior and your thought. This diagram has been used by the Chinese to divinate fortune. So instead of the Chinese trying to guess the future as the horoscope, the traditional horoscope does, what the Chinese try to do is try to divinate your present. And they have these various combinations of the Pakwa. These are combinations of these three trigrams. They create hexagrams. There are 64 different combinations. And in these 64 different combinations, you can find some of this I Ching related divinations. So you make those things with the traditional methods, and let's look at one. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 will read to you a poem that's trying to explain to you what your present is. And this way, the Chinese can have some sort of horoscope reading about the present, but not about the future. So this is it by me for talking about Daoism. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in a minute.